Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Audi Velogames podcast, where I am, of course, joined by the regular cast of Dan, Irfan, and Pedro to talk about Strade Bianche, the first round of the Superclasico, first of 40 plus races. There are some which may still be confirmed, but at the moment there's 40. And Strade is the first one, and it's always important to get off on the right foot. And I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but this is usually a race where I've hit the mark more often than not, but then everything goes really downhill afterwards. So you can listen to my advice to Strade. Everything else is just useless. But Strade Bianche, if I pull up the website, we can have a look at some of the rider prices. Bit of a sneaky look at my team there, although I uploaded a video earlier today, so people probably already seen them. I mean, we were talking about this just before recording. Pedro asked, Pogačar or no Pogačar? I guess Pedro. What do you think? Because you're the one who asked the question before we started recording. Are you thinking of going without him?
I have considered it, to be honest, but I don't think I can. Like you said, I'd be furious if he pulls up Pogačar as usual, and I mean, if he wins the race, or it's impossible to not take Pogačar, I guess. But the truth is, there are so many good options, and on the 16 credit riders, even the 24 credit riders are quite good. And I think you can actually set up a good team without Pogačar. And and it's a big if with Pogačar, we already know that, if he doesn't podium, which is unlikely, then you'll have a great team, and you'll probably end up scoring a lot of points and ending up in a great position. But I mean, he's just, for me, he's the favorite, even though it's his first race of the season, and that's what's really messing with my head, because we have no performance indications, but we know Pogačar is always ready, and he's a competitive beast. So I guess I'll end up taking Pogačar, but right now I'm trying to set up a team without him, but I don't think it's gonna be possible for me. But if someone chooses to, just go ahead. You'll probably do very well too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I guess, do you guys think that the additional 30 kilometers of racing that we're going to get this year, do you think that favors Pogačar more? The fact that it's nudging up, it's going to be in distance, it's going to be harder. This is a guy who does really well over the monuments. The races which are notorious for being 250 plus kilometers. 215 kilometers seems like a walk in the park. I mean, Irfan, do you think that this is it almost a done deal already that Pogačar is going to win?
Pogačar was already in his own league, and if we make it even longer, I think the only one that it could really favor is someone really resilient and who's doesn't need technique. I think the only one, and from the list, it's maybe someone like Mohoric would like it, but usually I think Pitcock would like something more, like he's a cyclocrosser most likely, and he would like something more short, more shorter and more energetic. So I think the longer it gets, it doesn't play into his favor. And to be honest, coming back to Pedro's question, I didn't even think about what about the possibility of leaving Pogačar out, because come on, be real, it's the first race of the Superclasico, and we really think about it. What is the worst thing that can happen if you have Pogačar in your team? And given the fact that at least half of the players in the game will have him, so it won't be a big loss if the worst thing can happen to him.
Yeah. I mean, Dan, do you think almost the beauty of Pogačar is that you get breakaway points, of course, You know, if you take a look at the scoring system, which people who are new to the Superclasico, go and check this out, obviously, but is the beauty of it not that the breakaway points, if Pogačar goes solo with more than 20 kilometers to go, he's going to get 2 lots of 45 points. So he gets like an additional 90 points there, doesn't he, automatically? Or do you reckon, Dan, do you reckon that Pogačar is almost just a bit of a must-have because of that solo ability and that extra 90 or even just 45 points he might get?
With these kind of races, it's getting up there with the monuments, and Pogačar is in a kind of a class of 3 when it comes to that anyway. And you haven't got Wout van Aert or Van der Poel here. So if UAE do choose to break it up early, quite a few of them could actually get those breakaway points. You're thinking Del Toro and Hershey, Wellens as well. So that adds to the appeal of getting some cheaper guys in there. But I think because they have changed up the route so much, the parkour is harder and further. It kind of changes who his competitors are going to be. Because I think Mohoric and Wellens would normally be up there, and I expect them to still top 10. But I just think that top 3, top 5 is going to be more rarefied air. So you're going to have your sort of your Pidcocks, your Danny Martinez, your smaller guys, really, because it's 3,500 meters altitude, which is a lot more than normal.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, there are a lot of other riders to get through. I mean, 24 credit riders: Hershey, Laporte, Mohoric, Pidcock. Pidcock, of course, I think he's taken a price decrease from last year. I think he was 26 last year. What do you guys think about the 24 credit riders? Would you say that Pidcock is the best of these, or do you think that somebody else is better? Dan, what do you reckon?
Pidcock's the only one of the 24s I'd consider, to be honest. I think it's too hard for Mohoric to be at the pointy end, and he's too expensive. If it was like pretty much any other race that Mohoric would be a favourite for, I'd pick him. But I think he's in that tier below. Laporte is that price because he'll be that for the Cobble Classics, which he will be worth it for, but not for. It's too much climbing. I think if it was Tour de France, Laporte, I'd maybe think about it because he can climb as well as Wout and sprinting, but not for this. And I mean, Hershey could top 5 and get assist points and breakaway points, so he could be worth it. But in terms of following Pogačar, I think only Pidcock's the only 24 I consider, to be honest.
Yeah, I truly can think the only person who would be, or the only people who would be able to beat Pogačar would be other UAE Team Emirates riders who are up the road, and therefore Pogačar won't chase behind.
That's not how they race, though, is it? When Pogačar's in the race, he's the only focus. Like it's so weird to watch when UAE have a team and Pogačar isn't in it. The tactics are all over the place, and you saw it at what was the race a couple of days ago? Trofeo Loelia, where you had Jan Christian go up the road when Ayuso was probably meant to be the leader, but Ayuso was looking at Gregoire, and then Lenny Martinez gets up the road, and you got Jan Christian in there, but he can't beat Lenny Martinez. It's a mess. So it's like Pogačar turns up and he's the leader, and no one else is gonna. I mean, Del Toro is a former mountain bike rider, so if anything, he's very suited to this race. It's just he's a neo pro, and it's 215 kilometers or whatever. I'm not sure he's got the engine or the gas tank for a race if it's as explosive as Pogačar usually makes it.
22 credit riders: Alaphilippe, Asgreen, Madouas, and Paulus. I'm not particularly tempted by either of these 4. Are either of you 3 thinking of putting on a 22 credit rider, or do we just want to skip over them?
I'll absolutely skip over it because, I mean, I would love to see Alaphilippe win and perform, because of the obvious reasons, what's been happening to him, what's coming on the news lately. But honestly, I think there are better riders for this race and that can give you more security. like for 16 credits. So it's just not a good decision to take a 22 credits, like let's say
Yeah,
Asgreen or Paulus. It makes no sense to me.
yeah. It's a funny one because although I do look at these names and I think, oh no, I'm not going anywhere near it. It's very easy to forget. Asgreen and Madouas are both podium finishers of this race. Alaphilippe's won this race in the past. Paulus is a very good one-day racer, but just at the moment, they're not the kind of peak form.
They might be all right for the old parkour, but not for the new one.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. I mean, Pedro's alluding, and we're all alluding to these 16 credit riders. So I'm just trying to like get I think we all believe this is where the value is. So I'll tell you what, we'll move on. 20 credit riders. Irfan, Baggioli, Healy, and Vellens. Healy, of course, was incredible last year. 6 credits up to 20 credits. This is probably the biggest price increase that we've seen. Do you like any of these 3, Irfan?
It's just 3 riders, so I've kind of been a bit disappointed by Baglioli and the start of his season. Like, I think he went to the new team and he had an amazing end of the classic season, and we really expected more from him in the start of the season. So it's been quite disappointing. Ben Healy, okay, it's a new terrain. We haven't really seen him in Strade Bianche on those white Tuscany road, so he's not access credit anymore. Like, we could just fit him like last year and just whatever happened is going to be for the good. As Tim Mullins, we've seen him. We know the start of his season. He usually does well in Strade Bianche, but he will finish in the top 10. But we can get much cheaper, not much cheaper, but riders at 16 and 14 credit who will definitely finish in the top 10. So unless you want to leave Pogačar out and fit Wellens with someone like Pitcock, then it might be worth it. But no, not really.
I'm considering the benefit of Vellens being, firstly, he looked really good at the opening weekend, which is kind of like a big tick for me. Plus, the assist points off of an inevitable Pogačar victory, I think, is what we're all sort of presuming. That's 60 points in and of itself. Plus, he gets to sit in if Pogačar goes up the road, so therefore he, in theory, saves his legs a little bit. So that's why I'm kind of favourable towards Vellens, because I think that, I know there's Hershey here, but I think that Vellens has got this consistency. Like Irfan said, his lowest finishing in Strade is 13th after 5 editions or so. I know if you put on a 20 credit rider and he finished 13th, you would be a little bit disappointed. But I don't know, Vellens just seems a little bit better this year. But you know what? I digress. That's my kind of Vellens.
Just to ask you a question, because we not to. I don't mean this is a bad point to Healy, but do you think Healy is the most overinflated price now? Because he was 6 last year, and then he came, was it 2nd at Amstel, and now he's 20.
Yeah, I mean, second at Amstel, was he 3rd at Liège?
Yeah.
Second at
so he's basically he's worth 20 for 2 races.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think it's just a thing with Healy now in general, is that everyone seems to pick him. Everyone was saying, pick him for Algarve, pick him for Algarve. And I was like, he's actually still a little bit unproven. He's
gone from being underhyped to being overhyped.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but I do think that he is incredibly good, and this is a very Healy-esque terrain, so I still think that he's a good choice. I think him and Vellens, good ones. We're almost at the 16s, I promise. 18 credit riders: Barguil, Carapaz, Kuznefroy, Magnus Sheffield, Dylan Turns, and Axel Zingler. I've been informed that he's Zingler, not Zongler, by an actual French person as well, so reliable source. Again, these guys, for me, none of them are jumping out. I don't know why. I think Dylan Turns I'm okay with, because I think that he could be like a top 10, top 15. Kuznefroy is so up and down, up and down. I never know what Kuznetsov I'm going to get. This isn't the GP Quebec after all. You know, if that means he's not like a guaranteed win. I mean, what do you reckon, Pedro? These 18 credit riders, are any of them worth it?
I mean, none of them is appealing to me, honestly. I believe Tons was supposed to do well, right? Because of his characteristics. He might pull something off, but because of his late results, you know, I'm not too confident for it. Also, Carapaz, he disappointed me a lot, so no way. Bargill might do something too, but it's like for 18 credits, they just seem too expensive for what they might bring in terms of points, you know. And probably Kuznetsov because of his characteristics too, but that's like you said, it's not constant, and it's a risk to take him. But for 18 credits, I don't really like any of these riders. I think they are a little bit overpriced for what they might be worth at the moment in terms of performance. So I don't think I'll be picking any of them. But you know, who knows what probably Tons can do. It's probably the best pick here, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, obviously people who are new to this competition might be wondering, well, why are all these riders priced like this? It's because these prices are locked in for the year. This is a year-round price that these riders are. So George has sort of hedged his bets, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Aggregated it.
Yes, sort of saying, well, you know, he's not going to change and race on race, saying, well, in this race, Kuznetsov is actually worth, or Kuznetsov is actually worth 20, whereas in a Cobble Classic, he's actually worth 10 because of his ability to do well. It's an average, like Dan says. So that's why the prices are like this, just in case people are new to this, which I realise there have been some new people, like quite a lot of new people to Velogames this year. So I'm just making it obviously clear. But we're finally here. 16 credit riders. There is a lot to go through here. Bardet, Bargiel, Del Toro, Formolo, Ivan Garcia Cortina. If you're picking Ivan Garcia Cortina, I swear, please. If of all the 16 credit riders, you choose Ivan Garcia Cortina, what are you doing? Anyway,
he was climbing well at Omloop. So.
I don't care, Dan. There's no way.
He chased down his ex-Movistar teammate.
Oh God, yes, he did. Oh God.
He's like, Matteo, you're not winning, mate.
I remember when I put him on for Kearney, he came 11th in the end or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, Higuita, two-time winner Kwiatkowski, who probably won't be doing that again. Guillaume Martin, Danny Martinez, Lorenzo Rota, Tom Schoins, Edward Turns, Attila Volta, Maxime Van Hils, Andrea Van Dlam, and Gianni Vermeersch. I'll tell you what we're going to do here, just because there's a lot of 16 credit riders. I am going to explain my favourite one, and then we're going to each give who we think is the best 16 credit rider. So I'm going to start off with a solid Tom Schoins. I think that Tom Schoins, obviously John isn't here, but this is definitely what John would be saying as well. Tom Schoins was very good in the opening weekend, very strongly on loop. I remember at World Champs last year, he was top 10 as well in a very tough race. And I don't know, I can't remember which berg it was in on loop, but he attacked and Wout van Aert could not close him down. I don't know, and that is all of the information I need. That Tom Schoins is in the form of his life, and also he plays Velogames as well, so it gives it a nice little bonus as well. I think that Schoins, I honestly think he could be top 5 in this race. Maybe that's just me getting a little bit carried away. I definitely think
he's got a decent record in the race, to be fair, but it's a top 20 record, not a top 10 record.
He's definitely a top 10 rider. But with my getting it carried away, I'll say top 5.
I think the added
Dan?
elevation will help him. But yes, me.
What do you reckon? Who's the best 16 credit rider?
Well, I've got one in mind, but if you scroll up again for me so I can refresh the top of the list. Attila Valter is my pick.
Is he?
Well, I don't usually pick Attila Valter because I think he's a bit Wilco Kelderman. But he's Wilco Kelderman in that he's very strong and he's very consistent. And I remember, I'm not sure if it's last year, might have been the year before, when he was supposed to be helping Benoot, and then he dropped Benoot, and Benoot couldn't catch up. And then there was the whole furore with the radio, and he's like, "You've got to come back and help me." And he's like, "But I'm chasing Pogačar," and blah, 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 blah. So he's a very strong rider. So I really like him.
And he was decent at UAE Tour as well. Good signs. Irfan, I'm sorry if we've already taken your favourite 16 credit rider, but who is another 16 credit rider that you think is really good?
That's why you already said you've taken the two of them that I was thinking about it. But I'm just looking at Lorenzo Rota.
Oh,
I know it's
interesting one.
surprising, but that's why I'm just confirming because he usually does well on punchy era.
I believe he has some.
That's why I'm trying to check if he has had any decent performances on this type of terrain. Okay, in 2022, it was 13, and last year I see his DNF, so he crashed out. I don't know what happened to him, but otherwise we've seen him, and it's not that easy to. You have to be in a really good form to challenge Remco. So I think Danny Martinez is a good one given the terrain as well. And like Dan said, more than 3,000 meters of elevation. So Danny Martinez at 16 is actually a very good option.
Yeah.
So mine will be Danny Martinez.
Okay. Pedro, you've drawn the short straw, so you are last.
Yep.
But of the remaining riders,
there's plenty of talent in the 16 credit riders, right? So of course you already picked 3 of my favorite, so I'll just argue the case for Maxime Van Gils.
Yes.
He's in great shape. He's starting the season very strong. He climbs well. He's punchy. I mean, he has everything it takes to perform here, and he'll for sure, I guess, be the leader of the team. I don't see anyone else above him, at least. So I believe if he plays it smart, he can be a surprise. I wouldn't be surprised, but we can call it that amongst these sharks of the classics and all these experienced riders. But apart from all of those you have already talked about, I think Maxime might be my favorite apart from those. Pretty strong rider. He's a youngster. He's feisty, and I think he'll do pretty good. Actually, he'll be probably in the top 10, I believe. I would put my money on it.
Yeah, I think he's a definite top 10 for me. I think Van Gils is a really, really solid one. We'll just drop Del Toro. Is anybody tempted by Del Toro? Obviously, we were talking about. Dan talked about his mountain biking past. We've been talking about the Pogačar assist points, the UAE Team Emirates strength for going into this race. Is it too early for Del Toro, considering that he is still basically, going through puberty? Is it too early? I think so, probably, just because I think that there's Pogačar. There's more names here for UAE who'd be easier to rely on, like a Pogačar or a Valens or a Hershey. I just
for that price, it's not. I wouldn't go
Del
for
Toro falls too far down the pecking order for me.
I mean, on his
Well-
Instagram, he's basically been hanging out with Pogačar the whole time, so they're clearly like best mates. I do think it depends on the race. Like if it's you got Wellens and Del Toro to sort of like look after moves or make moves or pace for Pogačar if they're chasing someone else. So I mean, he'll be one of the last men working for him, but I don't think he may well end up top 20 or top 10 by dint of helping Pogačar, but I'm not sure he'd be worth 16.
I don't think he's worth 16 either, but let's say Pogačar is a little bit more cautious because it's his first race and he doesn't want to go like all out from 50k to go. I think they might try to attack with Del Toro. We've seen Del Toro try some solo stuff, you know, and he's a brave rider, so you might just, if they have Wellens doing well and by the side of Pogačar giving him some more security, and if Pogačar doesn't want to go too early, they might send Del Toro just to spice things up a little bit and make other teams chase, perhaps if they are like 2-3 riders also in the group. But I don't think it's worth the 16 credits, but you might try something. Might be on the strategy.
Yeah, I think if he was 12 credits, I'd be very much tempted to. But speaking of lower priced riders, we'll move on from our favourite price category. We're unfortunately saying goodbye to it. But 14 credit riders, I think Gregoire and Sepp are the best ones. You could argue Quinn Simmons because he usually tries to target this race, but he hasn't looked brilliant so far this year. And for me, that's about it. Gregoire, of course, finishing 8th last year. Kuss has done this race twice in the past, but never really done that well. But he's been looking good at Algarve. He did good in the Classica Hayan, which is, I know it's like 50 kilometers shorter, but whatever. It's still on gravel. It's still set. It still sort of counts. Dan, what do you reckon? Gregoire, Kuss, do you think these are good picks, or do you think you should be going for 16 credit riders instead?
I think if you can fit a bit of both in, that's the ideal thing. I think Gregoire and, well, the next category down, his teammate, Lenny Martinez, he's in great form. I'd be more tempted to go for Lenny Martinez, but Gregoire's still a great option. I really like Sepp Kuss. I think I might be getting swept up in the hype, but I feel like Sepp Kuss can podium this race. He's in such good form. I really think in my head it's Pogačar and then Kuss and Pidcock in either way around second and third. Quinn Simmons does well, or has done well in this race before. I swear it's his debut season when he was in that front group. So he's very strong, but we haven't seen much from him. Mauri would be working for Alaphilippe, I would have thought. I don't particularly like Mauri as a rider anyway. He's always a bit flaky, unless it's Tour of Oman. Zana said he's going for it, and it's his favourite race, so he might be okay. Yeah, it's a bit. This category feels a bit, other than Kuss and Gregoire, it just feels a bit meh to me.
Yeah, I agree. But you alluded to him, but previously, obviously, of course, I uploaded a video earlier today, and then Lenny Martinez was announced. Once I'd uploaded that, but Lenny Martinez, Irfan, Lenny Martinez, of course, won the Trofeo Lagreglia. Is that correct? He won that.
Lawalia, yeah.
Lawalia. Irfan, Lenny Martinez. His new addition to the race, is he making it into your team, or is he kind of, shaking things up a little bit for you?
Everything seems to be going his way these days, right?
Yeah.
So, like Dan said, it will be between him and Gregoire, and we've seen Gregoire last year. I think he finished 5th or 6th, something like this. And if you want to be safe and you have the credit for it, you can be safe with Gregor, but just for two credit less and the elevation. And if it goes toe to toe they seem to be a similar type of rider, Lenny Martinez and Sepkus, but I was also very impressed with Lenny Martinez and his time trial. So yeah, I think he's my favorite 12 credit rider. So yeah, should be Lenny Martinez. But I'm not going to take Lenny Martinez and Romain Gregor together. So it should be either of them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Gregoire provides he's a bit more snappy. Obviously, the Martinez is kind of like the pure climber, but we've mentioned how much altitude gain there is in this race. So I always feel like Lenny Martinez, I don't know why. I always kind of picture, would Kenny Ellison do well in this race? And then I'm like, probably not. So therefore, Martinez. But like, he's not going to be going solo, I don't think, like, in all honesty. But is he going to be hanging into a
one
group
solo, right?
Yeah.
He just won solo, right?
Well, I know, but that was, it was a climb and it was a descent. It was like 2K. It's fine.
That there's so many times in Strade that
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough, it's on gravel, and I swear I read somewhere that he did mountain bike at U19, which I think that's even below. That must be just above junior level. I don't know.
Yeah.
So for some reason now he's become like the only guy who can rival Pogačar, which I don't agree with. But I've got Lenny Martinez in there. He's in such flying form. He's probably in that Sepp Kuss, Danny Martinez bracket of sort of climbers who have that ability to follow Pogačar.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that previously I had no interest in the 12 credit riders, but I do agree that Lenny Martinez is definitely drawing my interest. He is, in my opinion, the best 12 credit rider. But we move on to the 10 credit riders, where I think there is a few names towards the bottom, really. No offense to anybody in this top half. It's just business. It's just the way it is. We are here to get points. We're not here to make friends. Ben Tullet, Milan Varda, Leonard Van Velt. Now, the three big names, you could throw in Kevin Vermarker and Stephen Williams in there, but I think Van Velt is drawing a lot of attention, obviously, and quite rightfully so, given that he recently won the UAE Tour. Varda, another rider who's coming from mountain bike, and Ben Tullet, who, of course, coming from cyclocross. For me, Van Velt is my favorite 10 credit rider, but Pedro, of these 10 credit riders, which one do you like best?
I mean, Van Velt for sure is in flying form, great shape. There's a lot of climbing this year. He might do very well. Other than him, I would say Tullet is probably the one that gives me more security. But with the team they have, it's just fighting for even an opportunity to attack or something like that. But he for sure has the skills to do it. But I would say Van Velt is probably the one in the 10 credit riders. It's the one to be picked.
Yeah, I just think, although Van Velt is completely unproven on Strade, that is the big gamble with him. It's just the matter of, it's the same logic that applies to Lenny Martinez. He hasn't done this race before, but there's this, we just think he's in good form. He's a good climber. They've got a decent kind of snappy finish up like a steep kind of little climb. He fulfills all the criteria. All he has to do is get over like a gravel bit. And it's not like he's just going to hit gravel and just be the most incompetent person. He's got two left feet and he just,
two left wheels.
Yeah, two left wheels. I was going to say, where's this now? Where is this going? You know what I mean? He's not just, he's a professional rider.
You need four-man luck. You need four-man luck for Strade, and anyone can puncture and be out of it. Like, you always hear of one or two big name riders after the race who disappear. You don't know where they've gone, and then you hear afterwards that they punctured right at the bottom of a key sector,
Yeah.
and that could happen to anyone. But Lennart Van Ayvelt is the one in form. So I mean, Stevie Williams as well. I quite like because he was way. I'm annoyed I didn't pick him at Kuala to be honest, because he was one of the 3 leaders for you for Israel Premier Tech and did very well there. So he could be all right. I mean, I'm looking at all these thinking, I don't know if any of them have a mountain bike history apart from Varda or Talet with his cyclocross, but I'm looking through the history of all of them. It's like, have they even looked at a mountain bike in the past?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it definitely weighs in a little bit, doesn't it? But in fear of getting too bogged down on the 10 credit riders, we'll move on to the 8s, where again, it's so similar to the 12s. There's not too much here that's appealing to me. Jenno Berkmos was fantastic during the Étoile de Bessèges and did okay in the Tour of Oman as well. But, you know, with Van Ayvelt here, with Van Hills here, I'm just not sure about his possibilities of getting like leadership. Kemner, I mean, we talked about in our group chat. We'll get onto him in a second when we open it up for the group. Bart Lemon has been sensational so far this year. I do think people will get swept up in Magnier incorrectly, personally. Vauquelin, good at Étoile de Bessèges. I guess he could do well here as well. So there's a few to pick from. I mean, I'll elaborate on a couple of these. Magnier, we saw that he won in Oman, but that was at the end of a shortened stage to like 76 kilometers. It was flat, and then it was just one climb at the end, and he was leading out Lamperty, and he won. Now, a 76-kilometer stage with one hill at the climb does not accurately represent what Strade Bianche is going to be throwing at him. So therefore, just use your brain a little bit before picking him if you are going to do it. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying think about it. Okay.
There's a key factor that should deter you. He's a sprinter.
Yeah, he is basically a sprinter. That's it. Dan, were you talking about Leonard Kemner in the group chat earlier? I can't remember.
Yeah, because I had him.
You had him. Oh, that's past tense.
Yes, because I was ridiculed out of because I literally opened the app, I picked who I wanted, and I had 8 credits left. I thought, oh, let's look at the 8 credits. Yeah. And Leonard Kemner was there, and I was like, that's really cheap for Leonard Kemner. He's really good. He won up the gravel hill at the Vuelta. Admittedly, It was a neutralized finish and no one cared, but he still won on a gravel hill, and I have since changed. So
I did pick. I think Kemner was. He might have been 6 credits last year. I think I picked him last year, and I think he might have been a top 1. Yeah,
I just seem to pick him because I like him a lot. He's really good.
He's just like a good climber. I think a lot of these 8 credit riders, they could do something. I'd say that Bart Lemon is arguably one of the safer ones, even if there is Kuss and Laporte and Tullet and Varda in there. I do think that Lemon just is in good shape, and Jumbo tend to go with who's just in shape. So, you know, they don't get too sentimental about these things. So I like Lemon just because of that reason. I think Vauquelin is a bit of a rogue one, but I think he could launch a little bit of a surprise. I mean, you got some very expensive assist farming people for UAE because George is really
fill it with UAE. We'll have this hour-long discussion, and it's just fill it with UAE, and you'll get like 1,000 points.
You can build a most intricate team, and it just doesn't matter. I'll tell you, I'll let the 6 credit riders. Pedro, which 6 credit riders should people be looking out for? Because I've seen like 2, but I'm intrigued to see if you've seen anything else.
Well, so far, I would say my go-to guy is Tranchant. He just did super well in Classica High-End, I guess. He's having some good results. He's a youngster too, so we never know what can happen. But youngsters have been doing pretty well this season, and the last few years too. He just seems like a strong guy. he won't have the pressure because there's Cosnefroy on the team that might free him a bit. Just go all in, no pressure. And I think that's probably gonna be my pick. And other than that, honestly, I have no one. There's some okay, right? Petili can do okay. I'm curious to see obviously what Nelson Oliveira can do, because although he's not a very climby guy, is very focused, a very focused rider. He's okay. He can ride on the Cerrado. He has shown on his training a few years ago, I guess, when he was in Portugal, that he likes to ride these races and ride on the dirt, I guess. And I'm curious to see what he can do, but for sure I'll go with Tranchon. And I'm curious to see what Petili can do. He's done okay in I guess 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I'm not sure, but he's done okay in one of those editions. So I'm curious to see what they can do. Other than that, I don't have anyone.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I think Carlos Canal's decent. He did pretty decently in Gran Camino. He was top 10 in Classe Cahayenne as well, but he finished behind Tranchon in Classe Cahayenne, so therefore, why would I go with Canal over Tranchon? That's kind of my thinking for that. Dan, do you want to elaborate on anything said, or do you think that?
I think there are quite a few. I mean, if you're really struggling and you want to have loads of big names and to pack it with sixes, I mean, these aren't great names, but you know they could be okay. Sean Flynn, Eddie Fine did well at Trobro Leon. I feel like I remember that randomly.
Yeah, that was last year.
Yeah. Patrick Gamper, I think, was a mountain biker, Austrian mountain biker. I'm scrolling because there were a few others. Paul Lepiero, he's been doing well in the French races.
Yeah.
Top tens. Axel Mario Cofidis, he did. I think he was 6th at Cadell Evans race.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm running out.
Yeah.
James Shaw. That's it really. I mean, I've been seeing Zambanini of Bahrain thrown around on Twitter, and I'm not sure where it's coming from. But
he's a decent climber, and I guess if you don't believe, I think because Bahrain, their leader is Mohoric, and
it's a bit of a weak team around him, I feel.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe if Zambanini gets a bit more freedom as an Italian climber in Italy, basically that's the sole reasoning. But for credit riders now, there has been one which has been added, which I am tempted by, which is Davide De Preto, who has been in good form this year. I mean, there's been, I can't remember where it was, but which race was it?
Oman.
I think it was Valenciana as well. When Matthews left, he was sprint pretty good.
Well, yeah, we picked him for Oman because of Valenciana, didn't we?
Yes.
Because he finished in the top 10 a few times.
He does seem like a decent puncher. Like, I don't think he's a sprinter. I think he's more of like a climber who can sprint rather than a sprinter who can climb, which are two completely different things, obviously.
I put him in the sort of same category as Berkmos, where they've both had the same program, and they're both these sort of punchy, climby dudes. And I think on the old route they might have been really good picks. And I do love. I've picked him several times this season already in the warm-up championship, but I just don't. Even at full credit, I mean, at full credits, sure, as a punt, but I just don't. I think he's getting dropped in this race.
Yeah, I definitely think he's
or working for Zana.
Yeah, he reminds me of a bit like when I picked Piganzoli for those last few Italian races of last year, like Il Lombardia and Giro dell'Emilia, because he'd come like 26, and that gets you 40 points. And you know what? Sometimes that can be the difference. between finishing 100th and finishing 50th in a race. Fancelli, obviously.
Who did absolutely nothing for me at Gran Camino after I hyped him up to the moon.
He got like 100 points. He was like the best 4-credit
Really?
rider.
Oh,
Yeah.
fair enough. Okay, it wasn't so bad.
I
We just
couldn't
didn't see him the whole time.
Yeah,
To be
basically.
fair, it was raining the entire time, so we couldn't see much. But
That's true. But in terms of that, other riders here, there's not really any which I'm looking at. Maybe you could provide a real long shot top 30 for a Hannanen, a Hubie, an Anders Harland Johansson, obviously the brother of Tobias. But I don't really see many like sneaky top 20s here.
James Whelan?
James Whelan, maybe.
He was bigging himself up before Valenciana. I almost got hoodwinked into picking him. Yeah, I'm not sure. He seems to. I swear he's had a really tough time of it because he was on the amateur circuit for a while, I think.
Yep.
So he's always done really good power numbers, which is why people are trying to get him. So I feel like he's going to be cheap throughout the whole season and maybe get a top 20 at some point. But...
Yeah, some point. So maybe Whelan could be another good one alongside the Preta. But I think you're looking largely at. There's no real obvious assist point getters here. It all depends upon who you think is going to be doing well. If you think that Tom Schoens is going to finish on the podium, then pick Fellini. If you think that Danny Martinez is going to finish on the podium, then pick Benedetti. If you think that Van Hills is going to finish on the podium, pick Adamates. Like, it's that's the sort of territory where we're at. The fours aren't brilliant, but definitely De Preto and Whelan. And those are all the rider prices. So we're going to come now to the team reveal. So I'll reveal mine. This is what I've got at the moment. Pogačar, Van Hills, Schoens, Martinez, Sepkus, and Bastien Tranchant. Obviously, I don't really know what... I am still toying between this and going with like Vellens and Van Eytvelt. But the more I kind of look at it, the more I just prefer having Van Hills and Kuss on there, you know? And that I just think that I don't see any reason why that just isn't a winning team. I just think it just
it's a really
works.
good looking team.
It just works, you know. Irfan, we'll come to you first. Who's on your team at the moment?
So right now I have Pogačar, Tom Schoens, Danny Martinez, Attila Walter, and I'm just trying to figure out because I have Lenny Martinez, and I'm trying to fit in Michael Google.
Oh my word!
I know it sounds weird to you. I'm not going.
Flashback.
Yeah, exactly, because I remember it was a couple of years ago. For whatever reason, like I picked him and finished 6th. And I think it was one of my first game. I finished 2nd in the whole of that was my first race. And I took him again the next year, and he did well. And then I don't know, I never heard about him again. But I think it might be wiser to just take someone like Bastien Tranchant. But maybe I go sentimental and go to take Michael Gogol. I haven't figured it out yet.
Okay. I like the look of that team. Yeah, that's good. Who's on your team?
Right now I have Pogačar, Walter, Martinez, Van Hills, Grégoire, and Tranchant. And while we were discussing the 4-credit riders, I just went and searched the Fellini results, and I was gonna swear he should do well in this kind of races. 2018, 19, 20, and 21, he DNF'd. So I completely let him just forget it. But yeah, that's my team right now. I'm quite happy with the team. I'm not thinking about changing I think this is my final team, of course.
Yeah.
I have dropped the Pogačar or no Pogačar question, and I
Yeah.
just let's go with this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, we've got a pretty similar team. You've got Walter and Gregoire, and I've got Van Hills and Kuss.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Dan, who's on your team?
So I'm different. I'm different yet again. Apart from
Are you?
Pogačar, I've got Pidcock, Walter, Martinez, Van Eytveld, and Tronchon. So it's that we've all got Pogačar and Tronchon, and then it's the four in the middle that are different.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think there's sort of the Pogačar, Tronchon, and then there's the mixing it with like 16s and 14. And then there's the sort of maybe going for one more, like swapping one of the 16s for a more expensive 20 something. And then sacrificing your 14 for a 10 or something, or like another 6, something like that.
There will be a combination where you get the winning, and you will have it now, and then you will switch it out before Saturday.
Well, this is the thing: is that like the difference could be like Pedro and I have got a very similar team, but it could literally be that he gets 10th in the world and I get 200th just based upon 2 riders. Or whatever, it could be Van Hills isn't the guy. It could be, I don't know, it's Guillaume Martin who actually finishes in 2nd place. I'm not saying that is what's going to happen, but that's just kind of like the fine margins of Velogames, but that's the beauty of it. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the video. These are sort of the teams that we're looking at, bit of like template and what we're all thinking. So the viewers get a nice widespread as to how to formulate their teams. And this will be out on Friday, so you get like a whole day to watch it, to digest and create your team ahead of Saturday, where the big event will take place. But be sure to subscribe and come back, because we are also going to be recording, I believe Dan, John, and maybe Irfan and I are going to be doing Paris-Nice tomorrow, and then there'll be Tirreno Adriatico as well after that. So it's a busy old period, but we're going to endeavour to do our best to get all the videos out. But all that is left to say is to stay safe out there, and we will see you in Paris-Nice more than likely.